All right, we got to keep going because we only have so much time. We have a bunch of categories. I'm calling this energy independence. There's a lot of other words for it, but it's the smart, clean power category. I think this is a newer category for builders. The drivers for this is a slide from the folks at Savant, but you know, I think the number one driver is probably the energy resilience thing. It's just people don't want to rely on these unstable institutional things like the grid. And so having some independence beyond just like a backup generator in an emergency, I think is really appealing. There are economic benefits over time to these systems, and then for the environmentally conscious, it's a way of making a contribution to a healthier planet. Here's the ecosystem of stuff in a smart power system, for energy independence for the home. So the one at the top gets forgotten about a lot because it's been around forever, but the grid is part of this system. The grid, in many cases, is your battery of choice. Because you're going to send power back up the grid, and then you're going to take power down when you need it, when the price of the power is not as high. So we shouldn't forget about the grid when we think about these systems. That's not always capable of being done in every location, but if it is, it's certainly part of the system. Solar panels are the preferred generation mechanism. We've got batteries, and batteries are mostly there for backup and buffering purposes. It's still pretty darn expensive to have batteries powering your entire home. What is that? It's hard to see those guys from here. Standby generators are a legacy product, but they're certainly still in the mix, and I can't read that guy either.
Interfaces and meters, inverters and meters.
Inverters and meters, those are going to enable the switchovers between the DC current generated by the solar and the AC current. What do we got next?
Smart load centers.
Smart load centers. So we've got a lot of power needs, especially when we get EV chargers into the mix. How do we distribute that power intelligently and efficiently?
Electrical infrastructure.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a sexy category, but it's wire and cable and connectors, but it's an essential piece of the equation.
Your devices?
The devices themselves, if they're smarter, they can be part of an efficient energy system. The EV chargers, EV sales are on fire, right? I don't think we're going to be able to keep up with the demand, especially with gas prices where they are. And there's so much investment behind that.
And the car charging the house is definitely coming. Ford's touting it. Those EV chargers will be involved in coordinating that activity as well.
And then, controls and user interfaces and dashboards for folks to manage their energy output, their energy inputs, their savings, et cetera. These are kind of the pieces and parts of a system. Just to show you some of the stuff, again, we're using Savant's materials for a little bit of a walkthrough.
And one of the simple benefits of those panels is when you add a generator to a house, typically you have to bifurcate the loads you're going to run off the generator when the generator runs. This allows you to direct the power from the generator to any load in the house. You can keep the fridge going during the day. You can spend more power to the EV charger at night.
Yep. Savant has they've done a good job with some consumer materials to help educate the consumer on these pieces and parts and how they work together to provide the benefits that we walk through. This is a page out of a guide that we put together with the folks at Schumacher Electric. Mickey and Chantel are with us here as networking sponsors, but we kind of put together a simple, starting with that EV charger being needed, a simple solution, a future-ready solution, and then the complete system solution, and tried to detail out on that complete system solution, which is that entire ecosystem of stuff, the savings that could be realized, the investment required, but the long-term savings that can be realized. That's one way to look at your offers and to explain offers to consumers. And then in terms of my good, better, best on this, the grid is always a piece of this. Sexy electrical infrastructure, an EV charger, and some controls at the good level. For the better level, kind of everything but the batteries, and then the batteries being added at the best level. What do you think about it? You have, do you have in South Carolina, folks that are looking to become energy independent and have the power?
We're a hurricane zone, so I mean, we were out of power last week, so almost everybody's wanting definitely energy independence, generators. The batteries, I'm excited to see where it goes. We've priced like the Tesla Powerwalls and a few of those things, and to get any sizable amount of time under battery power, it's very expensive. It might as well just get a Generac, so.
Yeah, it's kind of a backup and a buffer, and when I say it's a buffer, you could shrink your size of your solar panels a little bit with the battery, and it's there as a backup source. But in terms of it being the central source of power for the house, it's just cost prohibitive, even for luxury customers, I think.
And solar has not hit our market at all. Almost nobody wants solar on their houses, so it's just not been popular in my market at all. So,
what do you think?
So it's very market dependent, but I think that you almost have to treat solar a little bit like you do new IRC, regs that come out. That that, okay, well, it finally made it into the book, but our local jurisdiction, they're telling us, okay, well, we're not going to adopt that for another 4 years or whatever, or when it comes out in the next edition of the IRC, then we're going to have to adopt it. I think that solar is one of those things that if it's not in your market now, you need to start paying attention and being aware and planning, because it will eventually.
Yeah, I think the pre-wiring, just to make it easier to add solar, it's going to come. It's going to get cheaper. It's going to get, people are going to want it. And if you buy a house and in 5 years you have to spend a ton of money to get at it, you'd be frustrated. Why not make it easy? Like an EV charger. Yeah, I don't need one now today, but get the plug in the garage.